aggressive lack of curiosity about the origins of trends among Christians. I drive by a lot of churches promoting their yoga classes, and I want you to think about this. When it is not corrupted by the occult, but rather incorporated by the occult, you know which side it stands on. The very core is, at its roots, yoga originated from the ancient worship of Hindu gods against the first commandment. False prophets dressed up like lambs but preaching Lucifer's version of liberation will never lead to truth or awakening or moksha. It'll lead to possession, infestation, and oppression by demonic or negative entities. Remember how any pagan or occult practices act as consent, no matter how exoteric it looks.
I felt like I was gonna pass out just because I was getting so lightheaded that finally when she told us to stop and touch our faces, I felt like my face was numb. I knew my hands were touching my face, but it didn't feel like I was touching my face. I guess it would be comparable to if you've ever tried Vicodin or something like that. You just felt completely high and numb.
It all goes back to the hidden secret knowledge of the serpent. God's knowledge is free. Freedom comes from truth, but despotism thrives on ignorance. Astrology is another example of a trend that is purely esoteric at its core. The fallen angel Barakael was the one who taught astrology to men. Some like to claim superiority over Christians by saying astrology predates it. And while it does predate the organized religion called Christianity, it does not predate Christ and the Creator. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. Christ and God did not begin with organized Christianity. The Creator predates creation. One last word of caution regarding the popular New Age practice: meditation. When done as a group, this can be extremely dangerous. Meditation puts you into an alpha state or a flat state. If you spend an hour to an hour and a half a day in meditation, after a few weeks, there is a great probability that you will not return to full beta consciousness. The more you meditate, the flatter your mind becomes, until thought ceases. According to the Psychonaut Field Manual, this biologically flat state is referred to as gnosis. Brother men in their use of the New Age had no plans to violently destroy the church, but to silently overthrow it. New Age writer William Thompson states, "This new spirituality does not reject the earlier patterns of the great universal religions. Priest and church will not disappear. They will not be forced out of existence in the New Age. They will be absorbed into the existence of the New Age." Christianity has systematically been assassinated and replaced by the brother man's religion. True Christians are still being persecuted by these brothers. Why do I have to monitor what I'm saying? Why will I be taken down, my voice silenced, and my free will to express my beliefs taken away? I mean, people who expose these organizations don't generally have great track records, which is why I really appreciate you guys keeping me in your prayers. That means a lot. The truth is being persecuted, not nominal Christians who sit in a building and listen to trained pastors who were taught at their brother man run seminaries. The truth gets shut down at every turn, but lies looking like truth get promoted and followed. Why are we, the truth speakers, the minority? Because we are like a drop in a wave. Because we metaphorically have to walk miles and miles just to find another true believer. We stand for truth, and lies hate nothing more than being exposed. This is the reason that the McChurches will never be shut down. They're not a threat. Most are brother men-run organizations, and Satan will not divide his own kingdom. He may use it to reach a synthesis, but he will never destroy it. In monarch programming, there are two kingdoms. The kingdom of Satan, which is powerful and meant to be feared, that represents the world, and the kingdom of light, not shown to be good, powerful, or intelligent, but acts as a place to go to escape the fear and trauma of Satan's kingdom. These two kingdoms in programming act as the brothers want the church to be, a safe place for the mind to recuperate from an overwhelmingly terrifying world. But it's not intended to be a threat or have any power over Satan's kingdom. A lot of Christians treat church the same way. What can God do for me, not what can I do for God? A place to socialize, to see and be seen, to go for the sake of feeling cleansed, okay? Point is, most of these types of Christians are still very active in Lucifer's kingdom and believe because they accepted Jesus, they have free reign to act as everyone else, but not be judged for it. God sees this hypocrisy and divides those who truly know him from those who just know of him. Everyone knows the parable of the wheat and the tares. Choose the wheat and leave the tares. But agriculturally, it's actually a fascinating metaphor. Wheat is a grain, or a cereal-type plant that is processed for food. A tare is a type of weed that resembles wheat during the early stages of growth. A tare is a weed also known as false wheat. So the biblical metaphor used just in the agricultural meaning, wheat and tares represent not just believers versus non-believers, it's actually the difference in true believers and those that appear to be. So to conclude this section, the New Age religion can be condensed into 7 identifying beliefs according to Fritz Springmeier. 1. God is impersonal. 2. Christ is not Almighty God, but a good teacher. 3. Jesus is but one of many Christs. 4. Sin and evil do not exist. 5. Man should seek instruction from the spiritual world. 6. All religious teachings are of merit, except those that are Christian and believe in absolute truth. Therefore, the religious views of Egypt, Babylon, India, and the Aztecs are held to be of value for us today. And 7. Man can be a god. Speaking of wheat and false wheat, or tares, we cannot discuss Gadrael's viral infection of our world without talking about one of his favorite hangouts, church. There are 3 major fronts used by the elite for programming monarch slaves and the general population, which are religious fronts, the national security agencies, and the military, as well as the entertainment business, including Hollywood and the music industry as a 4th. The religious fronts have been used for centuries by groups like the Jesuits and the Assassins, and more recently, the Church of Scientology, the Church Universal and Triumphant, the Church of Satan, the Charismatic Movement, and megachurches. Megachurches are full of New Age and frankly unbiblical teachings, like casting visions and prosperity preaching. Independent or non-brother preachers want to uplift people. They want to share the word in a hopeful and loving way. That's not the brother's intent at all. Religious fronts are important to the establishment because they give them an outlet to balance their good and bad deeds as their Gnostic philosophy requires. Unless someone does good charitable deeds, they can't be high up in the Luciferian hierarchy. Just because someone donates to charity or does something respectable doesn't mean that they aren't a high up Luciferian. It's actually a requirement. Those of you who know about programming understand the complex amnesia walls involved in the structure of altars. If the programmers want, they can shatter a front Christian altar level and create a new level of New Age believing altars to replace the Christian one. We've just witnessed an example of this when John Cooper of Skillet posted an article about the massive falling away of how many church leaders are abandoning the faith in favor of the New Age. Even though our world and those who run it promote white witchcraft in the form of the feel-good New Age, the Bible is clear that all witchcraft is wrong. There shall not be found among you anyone who practices witchcraft, for all who do these things are an abomination to the Lord. How can we expect churches to be warning about the New Age when they don't even warn about the pagan origins of Christmas or Easter? Or they don't talk about the times we're in. That may have been acceptable 30, 20, or 10 years ago, but in this age of information, remaining ignorant is untenable. The establishment doesn't just program individuals, they program entire nations. The most influential people in the establishment are the very ones who groomed the world to believe that Billy Graham was a man of God.